let's go to the very beginning. Because I'm colorblind, so many schools and companies couldn't use me or didn't want to use me. So I felt very lost. Who says that I see it wrong? Maybe you see it wrong and I see it right, you know? Like, what's right, what's wrong? And I think it's a very important question artists should ask themselves, like, you know, could you live without it? A lot of creativity actually comes from boredom, man. Where else does it come from, you know? Put a kid, you know, somewhere and it has nothing to do. It will come up with something eventually, you know, because that's creativity. People think boredom is something bad. I think it's the best thing in the world. Like, actually being bored, that's what makes you creative.
How would you define success, essentially?
I feel like right now I'm very successful and it has absolutely nothing to do with money. I'm literally, like, I definitely made way more money in my life before than I'm doing right now, but I'm living in the place I actually want to live. I know who I am and I know what I want and I know why I do it, and I'm surrounded by the people I want to be surrounded with. That's success for me right now.
In this episode of the Mood Podcast, I talked with Finn Matson. Strap in because this is a long conversation, but it's a fascinating one. Finn separates himself from many other photographers and creators out there by prioritizing art over content, always. He is a freelance photographer from Germany who works with big clients around the world, from the likes of Mercedes to Logitech to various tourism agencies. And these organizations want him purely for his artistic creations. Too often we romanticize about photography being such an incredible art form, and often I feel it's used too much by people who may or may not be deserving of its title. But Finn justifies the word art in his photography without exception. His work is truly incredible, his process refined, and his approach to business in the creative space inspirational. He offers clean and simple motion and still art. It sparks nostalgia and evokes ethereal cinematic dreamscapes. And over a few Negronis, I managed to tap into some of those dreamscapes myself. Enjoy.
Cheers. Welcome to the Mood Podcast.
Thank you very much.
It's been, I'm drinking Negronis, by the way, and it's Finn's drink of choice. Wow, it's not bad, actually. Pre-mixed.
Yeah,
that's
pretty good.
Had a bit of ice, bit of...
For 12 p.m.
Yeah, sick. Nice. That's going down far too easily. It's been probably 3 or 4 months I've been chasing you, but you've been away on a huge job. So, look, welcome back. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
We have got a lot to talk about, I think. You and I are aligned in a lot of ways, certainly with our philosophies regarding photography, art, the creative space. So we'll get into that. But before we do, just give everyone a kind of introduction with who you are, how you got here, why you're here, and what you do essentially in the photography space.
My name is Finn. I'm 29 years old. I'm a photographer. I don't really know why I'm here. Bali was actually just like a little, you know, getaway thing, and then I liked it way too much to ever leave again. So I call it my home now. That's it.
That's it. That's a short. There's a lot more to you than that. Come on, take us back to when you first picked up a camera. Essentially, why photography? Why did you get into it?
All right, let's go to the very beginning. So I never really found my path in Germany. That's where I'm from. I tried many different things, many different jobs. Never really felt like that's it, you know. I actually wanted to get into any kind of creative work quite early on, but it never really worked out because I'm colorblind. So many schools and companies couldn't use me or didn't want to use me. So I felt very lost when I was younger. Did quite a bit of, a lot of partying, a lot of drugs as well, unfortunately. I left Germany when I was 21 to go for a few months to Asia. I started with Thailand, did a few other countries, and then I went to New Zealand with a working holiday visa, and that was the first time I really felt like, whoa, that might be the place for me, you know. Tried again many different jobs like fruit picking, farm work, you know, everything you can imagine. And during that time, I actually picked up a camera. So it all started in New Zealand. I bought a very cheap, I think it was a Canon 100D, which is like a super small Canon um, camera, and I started shooting the night sky in New Zealand because it's like apparently one of the best night skies in the world, and it blew my mind. You know, like I saw these photos. I literally remember that one night, and I saw these photos, and I was sold. You know, that's it. I knew that that's the thing for me. So I got really into photography and all that, but obviously editing is a big part of it as well. And being colorblind, it's been a huge struggle. So I literally had like first 1 or 2 years, man, my skies were green, you know, like there was weird shit going on. I couldn't see it. I always had to ask people to, you know, look at my photos, tell me what's wrong with it. I could not just go on YouTube and watch a tutorial to learn how to edit because I couldn't understand it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there was a huge challenge. Over the years, it started working out actually through presets. I have to be very honest with that. I bought presets from other people, which made me understand how they do it, and that's how I learned it, I guess. And yeah, I feel like I focused way more on other things like light and composition, contrast. You know, it just changed it all. And it also took way longer. You know, I have friends that literally started a year ago and they're already like a professional photographer. For me, it took like 4 or 5 years to even get like the basics on a point that I say I'm happy with it. And I moved over to Australia because I had my visa ran out, so I either had to go back home to Germany, which wasn't really an option for me, or I find another country where I could live in. And Australia was close to New Zealand, was easy to get a visa for me, so I decided to go over to Australia, and that's where I started to get a little bit more work, started to pitch some jobs, had my first 1 or 2 tourism jobs, and yeah, I ended up living there for almost 4 years, and that's where it all started. Also with like a photography business, and yeah, then I started doing quite a bit of traveling all over the world through to like the States, South America, Europe, and stuff. Went back to Australia for a job, and then yeah, ended up in Bali, and that's why I'm now.
What a story. I mean, I think the main thing I take from that, I mean, I know you a little bit already, but I've certainly followed your photography since I found you, more than obviously we've spoken, but I did know about your color blindness a little bit. I think Harry told me a while back, and I just didn't believe. I'm like, what? Like, I don't. It just doesn't make sense, you know. Look at your works, and this guy's amazing. Your style is incredible. I absolutely love it, and certainly emulate some of my studio work on your style.
Oh,
I have some. I have your presets as well.
are you serious?
Yeah, no, yeah, I am.
Oh,
Yeah. So I just want to dive a little bit more into the color blindness, because that is just, it just doesn't make sense how you can be a photographer and colorblind. So can you try and describe to the audience what you see compared to what someone sees? I know it's difficult in words, and you know, maybe we can put up, you showed me the images,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
what
yeah,
you see.
yeah.
We'll try and pull that up on screen, but
Yeah.
for those that are just listening to this, how would you describe kind of what you see through your eyes compared to what someone sees who isn't colorblind?
Well, yeah. So I get that question quite a lot.
Oh, do you?
And
Sorry to be unoriginal.
no, 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 not at all. It's just like that's like the obvious question, but unfortunately, there's literally no way to describe what I see to you, and it's interesting. So you will never know how I see my photos, and I will never know how you see them. It's like
Yeah.
describe to someone how blue looks without that person knowing how blue looks.
Yeah, that's true.
It's impossible.
Because we could put something, I could show you something, but then you're like, well, I don't know if that's what I see that you're. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So like it gets very trippy when you
Yeah.
when you start talking about it, and it's super interesting as well. You know, like who says that I see it wrong? Maybe you see it wrong and I see it right. You know,
So,
like
yeah.
what's right, what's wrong. So that's very interesting. But if I would have to describe it, I think I see things more desaturated. Like I feel like I definitely have less saturation. And then always an example I like to use is you know, like after sunset, sometimes the sky becomes really pink
Mm-hmm.
and it stands out to people a lot. It doesn't for me. Like I literally like I've been to locations and everyone starts shooting after sunset. I'm like, dude, what are you guys shooting? I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Sorry, I'm allowed to swear.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And have you had that since birth then?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
So
mean-
so you're born with it. So like that example with that pink sky, I just don't see it. Like it doesn't stand out for me that much. So I feel like it has a lot to do with saturation and like it's just not. Yeah.
Are there any colors that you cannot see any saturation of that color? Because it's
No.
okay.
And most of the times I confuse things, is especially nature, like skies or like fall colors. Everyone goes to shoot the fall colors. For me, it's like I barely can't see the difference between like that really strong red and the green
Right.
leaves. Like I really like, if I know it and I look close, I think I see it because I know it. But if no one would tell me, it probably wouldn't stand out to me that much. So I think it has a lot to do with saturation in the end. Which now I'm wondering, maybe my photos are extremely oversaturated. I have no idea.
No,
because
no,
I don't see it like how you see it, but probably I have less saturation than you have. So it's very trippy. There are actually classes you could buy that would make my vision like yours. And I've tried them once and I just got like a really bad headache after like 20 minutes of wearing
bet.
them.
You would need to lead up to that, right?
Yeah. And then I was also like, it is what it is. I'm literally born like that. I cannot change it. And also, why should I, Like,
You're doing pretty well colorblind. I mean, is there a worry that, maybe not a worry, but is there a kind of thought that if you were not colorblind, would you be better? Or I'm sure you'd obviously have a different style. Has your colorblindness provided some kind of definition to your style? I mean, it
definitely.
must have.
Yeah. Like I probably wouldn't, my photos wouldn't look like they look like if I wasn't colorblind. So
How do they look like that then? So to talk to people about your process of what you're thinking when you're on a shoot, let's say. Are you thinking about the colors, or are you thinking more about just composition, setup?
Yeah, I do not think about colors at all.
Really? Okay.
Like on a shoot, like it's obviously it becomes a part in the post production, but during the shoot, it's like I focus on light, I focus on composition, I focus on I think also like contrast became something really interesting to me because that's like, I don't know, I feel like maybe I can express my stuff through contrast a little bit more than through colors because I just can't really put it through colors. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
I don't know if that makes sense for it.
Does I think
But-
contrast is underrated and very powerful
Yeah,
in
I think
photography.
yeah.
I love used well, obviously.
used well,
Used
100%,
well
yeah.
and subtly and
Yeah.
with a purpose behind it. I think
Yeah.
it's most of my photos are quite contrasty.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you are stripped of color theory, essentially, I mean, you would never have guessed it looking at photos, but innately, if you're stripped of that kind of thought process, then yeah, I mean, you have to kind of use other tools, right, to express what you want to express.
that's what it is. Yeah, you have to focus on light, you have to focus on composition, you have to focus on contrast. You have to focus on like, I mean, recently I've been getting into black and white, which is obviously great for me because I don't like that contrast even stands more out in black and white when then you don't have any colors anymore. So it's quite interesting to do that. But yeah, I'm it's been a huge challenge in my life, but I feel like, for example, I couldn't be a pilot, as we spoke the other night. Like
Yeah.
that's like jobs I would never be able to do. Also, by the way, I think, can't remember if it's 10 or 25% of all males are colorblind.
Really?
Yeah, so it's actually like it always skips a generation. So my grandpa is colorblind, and
Oh.
his grandpa was colorblind.
So it's
my
genetic.
my dad is not. My son won't be colorblind, but his son will be colorblind. So it's like, it's always like, it's quite interesting. But yeah, I made peace with it. It is what it is. That's how I am. I can't change it anymore, and I try to make the best out of it.
Absolutely, yeah, I want to definitely made the best out of it. I think it adds a bit of originality as well to you, your brand, your style, which definitely comes through. How do you pitch that? Is that part of a conversation when you work with clients? Is that something you disclose, or you just let your work speak for itself?
It has become part of it very recently.
Okay.
So I went quite through a like little transition in the last year, I guess, due to some jobs that I decided I don't want to do just jobs anymore. You know, I really want to like be hired as an artist. I really want to be hired for who I am and what I do. And right now, I think it's even on my website. It actually says that I'm a colorblind photographer, and if they want to hire me, that's what they get. You know. But just speaking about commercial work, it becomes a problem every now and then to like, or I still need to show my commercial work to like some close friends, just to have a quick look over it to tell me if there's something weird going on somewhere, you know, like, especially like, you know, shooting cars or stuff like that. You know, you can't have the wrong color of the car in a commercial shoot. Like it's
Yeah, just do silver. It's fine.
yeah.
Also, you know, briefly, quickly wrap up the color thing. Like, color for me is, and this is not rubbing it in, but color for me is actually the hardest part for me anyway in photography.
Oh yeah.
Like color theory is so like complicated, and to truly capture, and everyone does see it differently. You know, they do, nowhere near your extent, obviously, but even camera manufacturers see it differently, right? The sensor in that camera is calibrated to a specific color according to a bloke who makes the sensor or calibrates.
Yeah.
So yeah, color is for me the most interesting and most challenging part of photography. So it's really kind of inspiring to sit across from you and realize, oh, this guy's actually colorblind. Doesn't see color anywhere near the way most people do. So you know, to produce the stuff that you do is incredible. So
I appreciate
kudos to you
it.
for that.
But still, it's it's interesting because I still think there's a lot of like, you know, art in color, and obviously you can express a lot through color. So obviously sometimes I wish I could be, you know.
Do you try to though? Like you said, I know you.
I tried for years.
But do you
it's just like
you put your edits through a friend and say, you know, does this look the way I want it to look, or whatever, however you do it?
Yeah.
Is part of that discussion though. Like I need this color, or
no, it's more like you know, is her face green, stuff like
right?
that.
Okay.
You know? Like how are the skin tones? Are they too weird, or is there something weird going on in the sky, or you know, I don't really like shooting sunset and stuff because like if the sky is getting too much for me, it's like I cannot edit it anymore. You know, it's just becoming like I don't know what to do with it. So if you look at my work, you actually see there's not much actual like sunset or colorful skies or stuff like that, you know, because it's just I don't know what to do with it. Yeah.
Well, I've looked a lot at your work a lot, and actually I remember on your website, I think it's on your website, but and you actually said this to me the other day, which is very powerful, and I totally with it, like 100%. You create art, not content. And in today's society, it's like, well, 90% of photographers, and I put that in quotation marks, that they generally want to create content to be popular. You know, it's a popularity contest for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we all fall foul to that to some degree. You know, we all want our work to be liked. We want to be appreciated for what we do. But I think for it to be integral to a photographer's character, to his or her work, to his or her integrity, and I think that was just really refreshing to read. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what you mean by that specifically, and you know, how you kind of not choose jobs, but how that affects like the business of your photography?
Yeah, for sure. So I get that question quite a lot because it's in my Instagram. It literally says like creating art, not content. So people ask me, yo, what's the difference between art and content? And like first of all, I think like, I mean, in my opinion, art it's there to touch your soul, you know, like, or whatever you want to call it. It's yeah, it touches your soul, while content is actually made to touch your wallet, you know, like that's what it is. And then it's also the other way around. Like, I feel like content can't be art, but art can be content. And in the end, like, over the last year, I pretty much tried, or I built my entire business based on that I'm actually creating art for companies, and they gonna use it as content, instead of just creating content and, like, you know, there's no way back. But you can actually create art and people use it as content. But that's a very, like, recent thing I've been doing, and especially through to a few jobs I had that I didn't enjoy that much anymore, where I just realized, oh, hold on, I'm just another photographer here. Like, literally every other photographer could do that. Like, they don't hire me because they want me in my style and they want me as an artist. They just want someone who presses a button, you know? And that made me realize I didn't start all of that to do that. You know, I started it because, you know, I want to create art and I want to do something different, and I want to, you know, like, express my feelings through, like, an art form. And that's why I said, all right, I'm done. You know, it was a job last year, it was for 3 months, a tourism job. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm done with shooting food and shooting hotels and doing all these things, which is nothing wrong with, you know, it's just like, for me personally, that's not why I started it. I can get a job in a bank and it's going to feel the same in the end, you know, like, it's not my passion. So after that job, I decided, all right, I'm done with that. I need to change it all. And that's where I decided to actually become me also on my website. You know, it's not like, I'm not lying, not lying, sorry, but I'm not, like, talking about things I shoot and I like whatever. I'm literally just putting up, I'm extremely passionate about, and that's all I want to get hired for. And I tell that to the company as well. It's like, look, I'm doing this and this and this. I'm super passionate about it. I want a lot of creative freedom. If you're happy with that, let's do it. If not, you know, I say no. Like, that's what we have to do.
There's a lot to unpack there, and yeah, I think we can talk for the next 2 hours on it. So hopefully we will. But for people starting in photography, yeah, for people starting in photography that enjoy the art form and creating, like, I understand what you mean, and I've met a lot of people, and I probably sit in the middle somewhere. There's a difficulty to creativity. Some people find it more natural than others. Some people have to work more hard at it. And when I say creativity, I mean creating something that's unique and that is artistic.
Yeah.
That speaks to someone's emotions, someone's inquisition, someone's dreams, someone's imagination. But if that's a path one wants to take, how do they make a living from it? You know, it's obviously possible, but, you know, do you have to balance that? When you first started, you know, you obviously did kind of the hard yards with product photography, food photography, hotels, all that kind of stuff, which a lot of people enjoy doing anyway. How was that transition, and how would you kind of advise beginners to go about, you know, making a living essentially from wanting to do art, but having to make a few compromises along the way?
Yeah. So there's no shortcut. That's what it is. There's literally no shortcut. If I look up to any kind of photographers, they're actually, like, living dead and generally only making, you know, an income of their art. They all have been doing that for 10, 20, 30 years. They've been so into it for so long, and they know that because they went through the process and they did all the jobs they don't want to do to figure out what's actually the thing they want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, in my opinion, there's no shortcut. Like, you got to go through the process. There's no thing you can build that up within a year or two, or maybe there might be, like, some super talented people that can somehow pull that off. But in my opinion, for me personally, it's like, I needed that entire process of all these, like, 6-7 years to get to that point where I realized, okay, all of that, what I did before, is not what I want, but now I know what I want, and now I need to, like, you know, chase that. And also, very important thing is, like, you know, if you want these jobs, then you have to make sure people understand that you want these jobs. You know, most photographers build their websites, which are very similar to other photographers, and they all put up stuff they shot for jobs, but actually they didn't like it. So if you put that on your website, of course you're going to get these kind of jobs. If you don't want these kind of jobs, you need to put up what you want. Like I removed 95% of all my commercial work from my website and only put up, man, I probably have like 15, 20 shots in there right now, which is only from brands and from campaigns I love shooting and I'm super passionate about. And I think if you do that, then you will also go into the right direction to get these jobs. Same for my bio, it says all about creating art and content. Like it tells them I'm colorblind. Most companies are like, why should I hire a photographer that's colorblind? But fair enough, because I don't want these jobs. If you don't hire me for being an artist, hire me for my style, which comes with that I'm colorblind, then that's not the right thing for me, So if you really want to go that direction, you have to put that out and tell the companies how it is.
But that is everything. I was taught that. Even let's take a different industry in business or something. But there's a lot of business in photography. But let's say finance or something or whatever. Even an entrepreneurial kind of path that you want to take. Why are you doing it? Why do you get out of bed every morning? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? What is the purpose behind everything? If you can answer that question, then you're going to be fine.
100%. And especially as an artist, there's so much, like without being able to answer that question, there's like what is it? Are you even an artist? And when we're in that topic, I would like to recommend a book which is called Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, which changed everything for me, which changed my entire mindset, which changed all the way how I see business and obviously art as well. And yeah, pretty much it's like 10 or 12 letters written from like a very successful poet to a younger poet who wants to become like an artist or more successful with it. And it's just like letters back and forth. But it's super interesting, and like many questions is the why. Like, why it's literally asking you like, could you survive without it? And I think it's a very important question artists should ask themselves, like, could you live without it? It's because I know I couldn't. Like it's means so much to me, and I know also it's saved me literally, and I know without it it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. So that's a very interesting question that people should ask themselves. And then it goes obviously further in all the other things, like reels, social media, all that stuff. Like, why are you doing it? What do you want out of it? And if it's business or if it's money or whatever, totally fair enough, but you need to know that. Or is it fame,
Well, I go one step further and say that's not fair enough. Like I lose respect for anyone who does things for money. Like I just okay, money has to be a part of it. We all need to live. We all want to be successful, however you define that, and we're going to get onto that later. But if money is your main motivator, then I'm not interested in you. Like I just disagree with the whole premise. And I've been around enough money. I haven't made loads of money, but I've been around people. I've been around money. Like I fly private jets. Like I've seen it, and it's just not healthy. There's just nothing about if that's your number one motivator, if that's why you're chasing something, then you're not going to be a happy or healthy person. Fact. Like people can comment, people can send me their opinions all day long. I don't give a fuck. I'm 40 years old. I've lived enough like to know that is very, very, very true. And granted, it has to be a part of your life portfolio. It has to be there. And if you can find something that you're happy in and it makes you comfortable money, or even better, like loads of money, like, brilliant. But as long as that money is not your number one priority, you'll be happy, and people will react to you in a much healthier way. You will have nicer people around you. You'll enjoy life more. You'll be more content. You'll enjoy the smaller things in life that really are the most powerful things, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
Like it just is that. And so like when people say, well, if you do it for money, then fair enough. Like no, you're only making the world worse. Like they're literally making the world worse. Like that is the fact of it. That we could talk all day long about the politics and economics of it, but the wealth gap's ridiculous. The materialism of this world is ridiculous, and I'm part of that. Like I don't deny that, but I also give back a lot, and I, you know, I'm digressing completely. I feel very very strongly about when people chase things because of money. Like I just don't. It never ends well. It just never ends well. Like unless you're 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
And even then, like, yeah, I don't think that ends well.
Yeah, no, I love to hear that, man, because it's I feel like I'm in that process right now. You know, I'm like understanding that at the moment. So it's cool to hear that from someone who's got a little bit more life experience than I have.
But that's me. That's because I've chased it. Like
Yeah,
I've been.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
me on my high horse, not knowing anything about it. That's
Yeah.
like, oh, I've been. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
know what it's like to be a 30-year-old in a well-paid job
Yeah,
and doing that job because it pays well.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I become unhappy.
yeah,
Like that's how people get depressed. That's how people. There are so many depressed people who are millionaires or billionaires. Like, well, okay, how the fuck does that work?
yeah. No,
When you come back to photography and talk about it, like I see a lot of people doing jobs because of the money, not because it's a job they really want to do. And I'm not in a position to judge that at all because I haven't been there. But again, that can only kind of lead you down one path. And granted, everyone has to figure that out for themselves. But it's just not the right way to go. I just truly believe that it's not healthy. Granted, if you got to like two jobs against each other and they're both, yeah, I'd like both. Pick the one that pays better.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when money is at the forefront of getting up every day, then
Yeah, I mean, I love that because, as I said, I'm literally like with all my photography, like business and everything, I'm really trying to get, like do that. And like, I could probably make so much more money if I would push it and like, pitch tourism boards every day and like do hotels and stuff. And like, I could probably be like,
for sure.
making 10 times the amount I'm making right now. But that's exactly what happened to me. It didn't make me happy anymore. It did not make me not happy anymore. It took away my passion. Like last year, I did like a huge 3 months tourism. I don't want to say client, sorry. I almost said it. Tourism job, and I made a lot of money, more money than I ever made in my entire life. But I did not want to touch my camera anymore after that. I came here to Bali and it was like that thing. I don't touch it. Literally didn't touch it for 2 months. No personal shoots, no nothing because I was so fucking over it. And that was the moment that I decided that's it. Like there's no point. What's the point? It's literally that's apparently what I'm living for. That's my passion, and I'm killing it because of one thing, and that's money.
Yeah, you have to put other things out of your life or lessen them to some degree if you're
Exactly.
going to chase them.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then what's life about? Like it's fucking.
Exactly.
I tell you something. It's not about money.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Unless you found yourself on the street.
Yeah.
Then granted, like your priority has to
Yeah.
get some money. But we're fortunate, privileged enough that we're not. Like you get one life. You can get one body. Like, are you healthy? Happy? Are you actually doing? And I say this to people all the time. That's why it's so refreshing to have you on. But do what you love. Like, just do what you love.
that's what it's all about.
Like, I mean, yeah, there's some sacrifices along the way and compromises.
Yeah.
But if you do what you love, you're not going to go wrong.
Yeah. Plus, how much time it takes away from you to like, do these jobs and then make all this money, which actually could be time you could be using to create stuff you actually want to create. And then most likely you will get work that's like that as well. And then like everything just works out way better instead of, like chasing the money, doing jobs you don't like. It's like all these photographers saying, oh, that's our passion. We're doing this because we love it. But man, in the end, you're not doing anything else than like any other job. You can be, as I said earlier, work in a bank or work in a supermarket or whatever. It's all the same. Like that's not, yeah. But the thing is also like a big difference between being a photographer and being an artist. Like again, if you read that book that I recommended earlier, it will divide these things, and it might open some eyes for some people if you don't lie to yourself. If you answer these questions you read in that book and you don't lie to yourself, it will bring you on the right path. Trust me.
So it asks questions. Like,
Or like as I said, it's like letters between two poets, and the one poet asks the other poet's questions.
Oh,
If you
right,
use
okay.
these questions and ask them yourself, and again, don't lie to yourself, and like you know, don't fuck around. Like, say the truth. You know the truth. It's in you. You know, like it will bring you in the right path. I'm totally convinced of that. It did it with me.
Can you give me an example of a question?
Um, yeah, it's like what would happen if um fuck. Yeah. We can cut that, right?
No, keep rolling.
All right. Mm, what's a good question of it?
Can you remember any questions?
Yeah, I can remember some questions. So it's like I don't remember the exact words, but I remember like it's like like it might be the wrong words, but it's like, would you die if you wouldn't do it? Like could you continue living without creating art in any kind of form? If you're a poet, if you're a photographer, if you're a musician, if you're a painter, whatever, could you live without it? And if you answer that question with a no, then maybe that's maybe it will bring you in the right direction. Also, like, there's nothing wrong if you answer no. Maybe you're just gonna be like a super commercial photographer and you do that and you like that. That's what I mean. There's a big difference between photographers and artists. It's like I'm genuinely living for it. Like there's not much more in my life. Basically, all I do is based around that. Either it's like getting inspiration or like planning things, creating things, all of that. Like it all goes back to that. Which is quite interesting because I genuinely couldn't live without it.
I ask that question to not the question you just asked, but I ask something to myself and about others all the time. Not to others, but many photographers call themselves artists, and for some reason it really fucking riles me up because I look at their stuff like, well, what is define is very difficult thing to define art. I'm going to ask you to define it in a minute, but it's what it's, you've mentioned the difference between photographers and art. We'll talk about that as well, but I think when it comes to really, I've forgotten my train of thought. I was going to say something good. Oh yeah, I read an article in, it was either the UK Times or the New York Times, I can't remember. It was online, and they had outed Steve McCurry for editing one of his photos, and it was a photo, lovely photo. I mean, all of his photos are nice in my opinion. I know he's not the most popular figure, but it was a photo of some maybe 4 or 5 young boys in Sri Lanka running over, splashing with water, and it was just a nice moment. In post-processing, he or his team, which he said, his editing team, so why have you got someone else editing the photos? But someone had removed one of those children because it just didn't fit with the frame. They were kind of half blocked, and it just didn't quite look right. And he, spot removed a couple of things just to make it a little bit cleaner. It's like, yeah, great. Like, this isn't real life documentary.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
this is art.
Yeah, exactly.
And this article basically went hell for leather against him. Like, you can't edit, you can't change this, you can't call yourself a photographer if you just change things in post. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a big disconnect between what we know as photographers and artists about what we feel like creating, whether it's within production or post production, and what the general population think is art or think is photography. There seems to be like this gap in the middle where photography doesn't really connect with art for the general population. So I think like justifying if photography is art, actually the header of this article was, is photography art? So, well, what kind of fucking question is that? It's like, well, sometimes yeah, sometimes not.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, depends how you define art.
Exactly.
How do you define photography?
Yeah.
Like, I could show you a 3D gen, or I could show you complete graphic design workup that looks like a photograph.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But
I mean,
created from scratch.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
is that fake? Yeah. Well, define fake.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how the artist wants to put themselves out there.
Yeah. And
So, I mean, it's
and who puts up all these rules? Like there's no rules about paintings. Like,
mainstream media.
of course. But like like actually that's the thing about art. There shouldn't be any rules. Like I mean, look at music, they do things with their guitars. It's actually not the guitar. It's like some program like fucking stretching the things and whatever, and then it sounds like that and that. Like Jimi Hendrix used to do that. Like he used some, I don't know the word of whatever they used.
Wah wah pedal.
Yeah, exactly. To like totally change everything. Like like all right, man, that's not playing the guitar anymore. Would be the same. Like it's like who? Yeah, I don't know why people come up with that, and especially with photography, it's like everywhere. Like why? Like
Well, I actually think the editing side of photography is more artistic, more creative than everything that leads up to it.
and like that's how you express your feelings, and like even like while shooting it already goes into that. I mean, imagine you shoot on a 400 lens. That's not what my eye sees. Like no way. That's already like
I hate that. By the way. Don't do that.
I don't do that.
No, don't do that, please. I just did a video about this.
Oh yeah.
If your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough. That's well, yeah. I've had too many Negronis. Can we stop the Negronis? I'm just
Well, it's
chatting
still for
shit.
glass right there, like.
Yeah, all right. So I interrupted you again. Carry on.
But that's what I mean, like no one would say that's fake, but actually like it's not what you would ever see with your eye. And same for editing and all that. And I had that quite a lot because right now my process, I really want to step away from the editing. I really want to get more artistic within the camera, but I still don't judge it. And I used to do that for years with like cleaning up my images, obviously changing colors and all that stuff, like even making my images look like film. I use overlays, I use grain and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean,
Now you said you've changed a little bit. How are you evolving in that style of
quite
editing?
bad. It's quite hard to step away from the perfection, which is a beautiful process though, because I always thought, oh yeah, I want sometime in the future I'm going to create these amazing perfect images, and that's going to be then when I'm like a good photographer. And now I'm like, I want to say I'm there, but I used to do that for quite a few years now, cleaning it all up, making it as perfect as possible. And you know what? I feel nothing.
Really?
I look at these images, I feel nothing. So I'm really trying at the moment to step away from that and get more into and don't get me wrong, like that's just my personal stuff. I don't want to judge any other people's work if they do that. I totally understand, and there's a lot of artists I feel a lot when I look at pictures like that. It's just for my own stuff. I'm like, it's not me anymore, like I'm stepping away from the perfection, which is interesting because I always thought that's the process and that's like the end goal of it. But now I'm kind of there, and now I'm like going the complete opposite way, and like fucking shooting the slowest shutter you can imagine. And like, I did a few shoots where I made a deal with myself. I'm not going to shoot over 1/10 of a second, the entire shoot, just to see what happens. And stuff like that. You're putting stuff in front of your lens to make it more, whatever. Like I put like clean foil just in front of it to make it even more bloomy, more like, cinematic and stuff. And like, so I'm really trying to step away from that, how I used to shoot and how I used to edit. And it's quite hard because you still have that like, oh, I would love to remove that. That would be sick to like, scent it a little bit more, or like, stuff like the example you just said with Steve McCurry. Like he removed that one person, like sometimes you have 6 people in a photo, but you actually want 5 because it would look better, or, like one person is behind the other, or this, like, I totally get it, but like right now I want to step away from that a little bit. Which also maybe has to do with like a few recent inspirations, like photographers I'm really looking up to. They're like, like super raw, super like, most of them shoot just on film. Big reason why I as well want to swap to Leica, as I told you earlier. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. So let's see where it takes me,
So who you mentioned some of those inspirational photographers. Can you give me a couple of them?
Yeah, there's one French photographer. He shoots a lot of like surf, skateboard, travel.
Yeah.
Sebastian Sanella.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about him. I love his work.
Instagram handle is
Seb Sanella. So SEBZANELLA. I love his work. Like it's it just makes me, it's all about the feeling, right?
Yeah.
And I look at his stuff, and I literally look at this one of his photos for like 5 minutes. Like, it really stops me with all the Instagram, fast stuff going on. It really stops me, and um it just makes me feel so much, like he literally puts like photography series up of like 5, 6 photos, and I'm like, holy shit, man, like how it's poetry in a photograph. If I would say one person who does poetry in photographs, he's the man. Like,
I was very much against social media for a long time. I was very snobby about it. Like, fuck social media. It's just a bad thing. And then obviously started photography. I was like, maybe I need to do this. I kind of went back on myself a little bit, but I'm happy I did. And maybe we'll talk about social media in more depth later on. But that's when kind of the IG lives kind of moved forward a little bit. So I'd do, just hour-long conversations on Instagram lives. And then from that, it just kind of progressed. I got a little bit better at it. Definitely knew that I enjoyed it, and I wanted to do something like that as part of kind of the photography portfolio. And then, came here, and the rest is history. And this is still brand new, right? We're still really kind of learning the ropes with it, and practicing that art of conversation, practicing that art of kind of getting to know people, and just being interested in, especially other photographers, but other people's lives, other people's tastes, other people's perceptions. And I'm really kind of interested in that. And I'm not the biggest people person, but I definitely photograph a lot of people. There's something there that really fascinates me, human to human, the connection, the depth that you have, the complexity that two humans or more can create with each other. And I just find that fascinating. So I think that kind of translated into just talking and just finding out, what makes you tick, and how can I learn from that, and can we impart that into other people who are watching. Hopefully we can, and if we can't, then I'm sorry for that. But it's just, for me at the end of the day, it's kind of a selfish venture. It's like
I think you totally can, 100%. And I really appreciate it as well. I think it's something so special in today's age to, like, actually, as you said, the art of conversation, which I love. It doesn't happen that often anymore. It's all online. Everyone just connects online. Everyone just talks online. Like actually sitting down, have a conversation like that, as you said earlier as well, without, like, touching your phone every 2 minutes. It's something very special today. So I love it. I love it. It's cool.
And it's special in a way that it's almost, I don't want to throw the word privilege out there, but often it is, like, for even now, to have, for someone to decide to spend time with me, or with us, or with a group, like, that's more rare than it used to be, right? Because of basically phones.
And how sad is that?
Yeah.
How fucking sad is that like people actually, prefer to do these things over, like, actually having a conversation with a real human, and, like, how much we both get out of this, like, it's wild. And I had a lot of issues in the last few months or year, just about not replying to people straight away, or, like, not picking phone calls up or whatever. But, like, just because, like, people are so used to you to be available all the time and always reply and always be straight there, and, like, generally people getting mad at me for not doing that, and I feel quite lost in that all, like, at the moment, because it's so like, I love you guys, you're my friends or my family and all that, and I will reply to you 100%, and I'd love to have a conversation, but, like, there's a lot of pressure coming at the moment with all that, and, like, like, as you said, like, having a dinner with people, and they're like, being on their phone all the time. It's like, dude, you can't even sit for 45 minutes with your friend at dinner without replying to chicks on Tinder. Like, seriously, that's like, come on, like, it's changing in a way I don't really like. So I really appreciate having this.
I don't think it's still changing, but it's changed. Like, I'm definitely don't want to pinpoint your generation, but I'm gonna pinpoint your generation.
Fair enough, man.
But it's if I had the same as you guys did, I would be the same. Like it's human nature. These platforms and this technology, these organizations, they've created something that actually taps into our brain chemically.
Oh,
Dopamine
100%,
hits,
100%,
like,
100%.
so they've created an addiction mechanism that we all are addicted to, and through varying levels. So I mean, I don't blame anyone, but it's just a sad
It's
matter
yeah,
of fact.
it's almost no one's fault, but like the thing is maybe not even my generation. The thing is probably the generation after me, even, you know, because I didn't have a smartphone until I was 18. So I feel like I still kind of had a youth without all that, you know, like, I mean, there were social media apps, but it was all on the computer. So you actually had to go home, plug your computer into the internet, wait until it's like on and all that shit, you know, until you're online, whatever. It's different than like just this. But like imagine kids, they're like actually like 10 now and they're having an iPhone already, you know?
10,
Or like,
fucking 6, 7.
yeah, like
Watching YouTube.
where's this all gonna go? You know,
Oh,
where's
it's
this all
safety. It's safety. Fuck off. Oh, I'm getting opinionated now, but I feel quite strongly about this stuff. We are dumbing down as a society, and there are a lot of factors that go into that. But technology, smartphones, social media are a huge part of that. Parents don't know how to parent it, and so they're taking the easy way out. Now we're breeding parents who are of that generation, like we're 25, 26, 30-year-olds who have grown up with that, and so you kind of breeding this device generation and the social media parenting, which is just the norm, and it's just not good. It's not good for education. Now you can obviously use it. I use social media a lot every day, and I try and use it for productive educational means, whether that's gaining inspiration in a photography sense, sharing hopefully inspiration in photography sense, but a lot of the time it's
connecting on some level, like we
connecting.
connected
It's a
as well,
social,
but like
yeah.
we connected and then now we're here, you know, like
Yeah, I doubt you and I would be sitting across from each other now without Instagram.
definitely not. So like there's definitely some very good parts of it, but it's still
That's why
like
I wish we didn't have Instagram. Yeah, I mean, there are, as Fia and I talk about this all the time, usually over dinner or something. It's a sad state of affairs, but if you know how to use it, it's like anything. And maybe we'll talk about AI later, but if you know how to use it for good, then it can be a good thing, right? But but the majority use it, and I think I talked to you about this the other night, and when I did some competitive analysis for Instagram a while back, set up a dummy account, and it was just like, okay, I wonder what the world, billions of people on Instagram are interested in. So seeing what the algorithm throws back at me as a brand new user, this is what you might be interested in. We know nothing about you, but this is what's popular.
Yeah.
Half of it was barely half naked women making really kind of seedy videos about how to eat a banana. Or what the fuck,
dude, you're literally like that shit. What's going on there is crazy, right?
It's like, this
like
is Instagram. And they're like maybe 25, maybe a quarter of what I watched was accidents, people getting hurt. Like,
fail videos. Yeah,
like, it's just weird.
It's super weird.
There's no art there.
No art there. And to bring that back to like a little bit like the photography and creative or like the art scene, it's like people are getting so entertained all the time and watching all that bullshit all day long that there's actually like, you can't be bored anymore these days. You're not going to be bored because like once there's like, let's say you're like waiting for a friend, he's 10 minutes late. What are you going to do? You get your phone out, you watch some stupid reels. People are never bored anymore. Like, that's just one example. Wherever you are, you're not, you sit in the airplane, you sit on the airport, you sit in the train, you sit in the bus, whatever. People are not looking out anymore, like, watching the landscapes or like, even like looking at other people or whatever, they don't doing that anymore. They're just watching the shit on Instagram, like, or any social media apps, watch reels, watch TikToks, whatever. And the problem with that is because I think a lot of creativity actually comes from boredom, man. Where else does it come from, Put a kid, somewhere and it has nothing to do. It will come up with something eventually, because that's creativity. It's bored. After now, it's like, what the fuck am I going to do? It starts with something and like, it builds a sandcastle. But if you're always entertained in doing that, you're never going to come up with something. It's the same with like art. How are you going to come up with some like creative concepts or art in general, or painting or whatever, or music, if you're always just having this. So I think that's the biggest problem, especially for the younger generation. They're not bored anymore. People think boredom is something bad. I think it's the best thing in the world. Like actually being bored, that's what makes you creative.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps. I couldn't agree with you more. Like my hero Sam Harris, he constantly goes on about this. I don't know if you know Sam Harris, neuroscientist, like kind of a political figure now, but he's neuroscientist by trade, and he talks about this all the time. Like the skill now of being bored.
The skill
like
of being bored. Yeah.
This is when meditation comes in, and just even not labeling it meditation, but just peace and just trying to be at comfort with yourself. Just self being a completely just do nothing.
Go crazy, man. People go crazy.
Oh my god, yeah.
Sit them down for 5 minutes without
5 minutes.
even like not reading a book, not drawing anything.
Man,
they're fucking
music,
going crazy, man. Like it's wild actually how people just cannot do that anymore because they need that dopamine all the time.
Like then on the flip side, you look at some of the most successful people in the world who have ADHD and they're 5 hours sleep every night. They're just constantly this, and this. But that comes into like, well, what do you want? Are you an artist or are you a doer or are you a bit of both? Like, where does your skill set, where does your persona fit in, and where are you most comfortable? Or are you susceptible to all of the shit that life throws at you? Are you kind of a level 8, 9 on that kind of advertising scale? Like, you are susceptible. Like, if we want to advertise something, we're going to go for you because you'll take it. Exactly. Like that kind of thing. Social media platforms, Instagram ads, this, that, yes. Next thing. And I think it's really difficult. Like I meditate, but I struggle with it.
Oh man, I struggle with it. I struggle with it so much.
I try not to like label it too much. Yeah, I try not to, because there are many different forms of being mindful. I prefer being mindful than like trying to force myself to sit and do nothing, even though I know it's very powerful. And it's only when you do something like that, and even for 10 minutes, like you realize my brain is fucked up.
Oh, 100%.
Like in a bad way, not in a good way. Yeah. You can control your thoughts, or you can not control them, but you're mindful of your thoughts, and you're able to do what you want with them, and not just have fucking this and that, and then just counting to 10. Like, focus on counting to 10 with your breath work. I guarantee most people watching this can't do that.
Oh,
breathe in, breathe out, focus on that breath for 10 times.
Yeah. I totally know what you mean. Yeah. I love walking, so I feel like that's the thing for me. It's like, I go for a beach walk at least twice a day, and I leave my phone at home. I leave my headphones at home. It's just me walking on the beach. And I know I'm still doing something because I'm walking, but like I'm not consuming anything, more or less. I'm literally like, it's hard for me to sit still and just do nothing, but like I can do walking, and I just walk on the beach for like half an hour up and down. And I do that twice a day, and that's really like my time. And I feel like so many good thoughts, or like so many thoughts in general, come from that, and creative ideas as well, not just like stuff like we're talking about now. It all comes from walking on the beach, man, or walking in a forest, or whatever. Like it's a very natural thing to do as well. Like walking is like, we're meant to walk most of the time, so that helps me a lot.
So how does social media fit into, because there is a very, very good place for it, and it's very powerful, and it can be very inspirational and a great tool, like hugely financially beneficial, can be, but hugely kind of powerful tool when it comes to, a lot of my inspirations I either found through Instagram, or I found through photography books, or in the photography world, and then kind of elevated that inspiration through social media, and I'm very grateful for that. How do you fit that into your photography business and your photography brand?
In general, I feel very similar like you. Like I fucking hated it for years. I was like, this stuff is just it's not me. I don't know if I like it. And that's what I was gonna say earlier as well. It's like how many things people do for social media. It's like, people go to watch the sunset, to record a story, to put it up on their story, but would they do it if they wouldn't put up the story? Like it's quite interesting how you see how many people do like little things like that. You think they're totally natural, but they're actually just thinking about, oh, how can I, like, share that with my audience? It's like, and I bet, man, many people wouldn't go for that sunset down at the beach.
Correct.
If they wouldn't get that story. And I have to be very honest with that. I was one of them as well. And there still might be some situations I'm doing that as well, that I'm actually like, I love the sunset, I love walking on the beach and all that, or like whatever, going down there with friends, having a coconut. But then, like quickly like recording that story still gives you something, which is quite interesting. So I'm really trying to be more intentional with that. I really try to not take my phone with me anymore, to just like, I can't even record a story because I don't have my phone. But I realized many people are doing things, even like trips here in Bali, going to some cool villa or whatever. It's just like, yeah, because I want to fucking show off on Instagram, it's like, but anyway, back to the social media and the business thing is,
Can I just jump in on that though?
yeah, of course.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that if they are overtly saying, I'm a social media, I want to be, it's a popularity contest, right?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people will use social media for. Where I have a problem is people being fake on that. Like there's only so much realism you can do on social media because it's a fucking app, right? It's not real. It's virtual reality. You choose what goes on there. You choose how to present yourself. Blah 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 blah. Blah. Even us.
Yeah.
So I mean, we curate all of our posts, right? Probably to a higher level than non-photographers or non-artists. Where I have a real issue with that is exactly what you're saying. Is like they're going to not to appreciate, the beauty of this world. They're going to kind of try and kind of get more followers essentially, or maintain that level of popularity that they want, that they think makes them a complete person or makes them happy.
Yeah.
Definitely doesn't. They're just going to want more. That being said, we all fall foul to at some point wanting more of an audience. I just think there's a nuance there. There's a much more kind of different take on it when you think photography and non-photography, or art, non-art, because that can extend to other genres within the art world. Photography and social media for me is about, we took a job, and I won't say who it was, but we took a job with a resort a few weeks ago. Not in Bali, it was somewhere else. And they had so much content from influencers through COVID, and even they were just like, "Fucking these people!" Like they're just taking photos of it. Great that we can use on Instagram. Thank you very much. Like we had a business transactional relationship, but just fuck off. Like it's just so vacuous. It's just scary. So when I approached, said, "Look, we're coming anyway."
Yeah.
Like I don't do hotel stuff or resorts. I can if you want me to, if that means that we can get a couple of nights free, great. Like we'll win.
Oh yeah, we've all done.
But ideally, like I'm a portrait artist, like how about I do some photos of the people, either behind the scenes, or I do some portraits of the people in your village or whatever you want. And they're like, that's brilliant, because we kind of want to do a coffee book. And we don't, been here for 5 years, don't really know the stories of a lot of people in the village, even though they contribute a lot to the village society, etc., etc. I took that job purely because I wanted to create a series of artwork, not just for them, for me.
Yeah.
I didn't do it because I thought that work would get more posts on social media, even though that would be nice.
Yeah,
great.
Would be nice,
but the reason, and that's kind of going back to your sunset walk example, my point is why, right?
Yeah,
Talk about
yeah.
what is the why? Why are you doing it? And I have a problem with you doing that and then pretending that I am a photographer. Like, you're not. You're a content creator and you're doing it because you're following trends.
Yeah, I love that, and congrats on getting a job with stuff you actually love doing.
Yeah,
You know,
but lucky.
that's amazing. No, you're not lucky. You're fucking good at what you're doing, and you know what you want to do. You know, you're putting that out there, and that's why you're getting this job. So I think that's awesome. And coming back to that social media stuff, it's like, yeah, people need to decide what they are. You know, are you an artist? Are you a photographer? Are you an influencer? Like, fucking make your mind up. You know, because I don't want to put myself in there too much, but like, it's like you will not find one single photo of me on my social media. Not even my profile picture will see my face. It's absolutely not about me. You know what I mean?
What is your profile? Oh, it's you with your hat down, right?
Yeah, you see me, like, I like it a little bit mysterious, like my photos are and all that. Like, but it's not about me. You know, it's about sharing my art, and it's about inspiring people, and maybe, I don't know, like starting a conversation or whatever. But like, it's not about me. That's why I'm not an influencer. That's why I'm, you know, that's like, and I think that's really important for people to decide as well. You know, and yeah, are you an influencer or like a content creator, whatever you want to call it, or are you actually an artist or a photographer? And yeah, many people need to figure that out. Also, like, again, we come back to the question, why are you doing this? What do you want? You know, like, if you want to be an influencer or content creator, man, totally fair enough, go for it. But then you need to know that, you know, then you're actually not a photographer. You know, like, it's like, I wish there was a little bit of like a differentiation in between these two words, because people don't really understand that. And yeah, and then like, if you're an influencer, you might do some, you know, reels and all that stuff. You know, for me, it's like, I share reels of things I was passionate about, or I loved filming, or I think that would inspire other people. But like, I generally don't do that to get followers or to grow on social media, because I don't want to get hired to do that. You know, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I'd rather put more effort into like building my website, or just creating another concept shoot, for example, because if I put my effort into that, then I will get that work as well, instead of you know, making reels and like getting paid for doing reels. So like, you really need to decide what you want with that.
I was actually you talking about the sunset walk, and I always spot when people are just taking in life and not doing something. And I was riding home last night, and the sunset last night was fucking ridiculous.
As well, yeah.
And I was riding home about 6:15, 6:30, and I just passed a guy, a local guy, who was just outside of his house, and all he was doing was watching the sunset. He had no phone on him, no people around him. He was on the side of the road, and I just spotted it. I was like, "Good for you, mate!"
Yeah.
Like, much more spiritual here, and
Yeah.
much more simple.
Yeah.
Simple in terms of their life is maybe not as reliant on money or material things. And I don't know, I take inspiration from that, I guess.
100%. Much more intention in what they're
Yeah.
doing, you know, like, which
More
is
genuine.
yeah. It's extremely beautiful, and that's something I definitely learned from, you know, Bali. It's just, I just got back from the States, and I've been there before, but it's the first time I spent like a longer time there, and you know, I don't want to talk bad about any countries, but holy fucking shit, like I've never seen something like that before. Like LA, man. Holy shit. Like, it is. And I always thought that might be a place I actually want to live, you know, like of what you learn, and like all the movies you see, and like the creative scene there and whatever. But like, I've never felt so like yeah, unwell in a place before than I felt there. So I'm super stoked to be back here and get inspired by obviously other creatives, but also the locals here, because it's just, you know, they understand life way more than any of, you know, the Germans, and you know, all these like super cool countries, and like, they think they all got it figured out. But yeah, like, I'm from south of Germany, which is like, you know, like Mercedes, Porsche, like so many huge companies and brands come for there, and everyone's making quite good money, and like, man, no one is happy. I just went back for the first time in 7 years, actually, and I realized how extremely fake that world is there, and how it's all about money, and how everyone makes problems out of everything that you would never make a problem out of here. You know, it's like, your bike is broken, all right, man, no worries. This guy over there is gonna help you out. You're gonna fix it. Everything's gonna be sweet. You know, it's like these little things that like would be such a big problem there, and here it's just like, you know, whatever, we sort it out. Which is very inspirational, and that's why I love Bali.
oh, could talk for days on this. And I personally, I've found fitting into Bali life not easy, but I feel kind of at home here. I feel like there's no pressure to be someone you're not, what you don't want to be. I feel like there's justified requirement to integrate into the culture as much as possible, which I 100% agree with. There's a culture that's so complex and so interesting that all I want to do is find out more, but they're so welcoming, friendly, etc., etc. When you go back to the West, it's called the West, and man, I've spent probably the country I've spent the most amount of time in is the US, and I fucking hate it. Like it's like it's so diverse. Like it's difficult to generalize that much because it's such a big country. There's so many different factions and different subcultures, and there are some amazing people, some amazing places, and I'm not dissing it for that. I just, their culture as a whole is, I don't believe, healthy to anyone in the rest of the world.
Absolutely not.
Especially in California or LA. LA
Literally,
is
like,
just like
yeah.
people there are living on a different planet.
Yeah, like literally
Not in a
looking
good
at
way.
LA is like, that's the perfect example of what's wrong with our world.
Yeah.
Like seeing the difference between rich and poor, and like, you know, all these homeless people, or like it's man,
they
it was
have no-
disturbing, man. I've never seen something like that in my entire life before. And I traveled South America, and I've traveled a lot of Asia, where people say, oh, that's all third world countries and whatever. But it was never like, I don't know the right words, but like that fucked up like I felt in LA. Like I literally was like, dude, what is going on here, man? Like this is
striving. It's very, very, very. I mean, the West is very status driven, and I wanted to run away from that for as long as I, not as I can remember. I mean, Hong Kong was very much like that as well, and that's why I wanted to move.
Yeah.
And Fee, my wife, she wasn't as enthusiastic as I was, but COVID came along and made life very difficult for us. And the rest is history. But these places become, when money's involved, or it becomes a hub for money, or the culture, the capitalism culture is so ingrained in that society, which now the West is just, it's the most materialistic, it's the most greedy. Like greed is such a devil. It's just the one of, no, what, it should be at the top of the 7 deadly sins. I mean,
100%, 100%.
it's so divisive.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous. Yeah. It's so evil. Nothing good comes out of it. And basically the whole Western world is underlined by greed. And I don't feel like it is here. I just don't feel like it is. I could be wrong. Granted, there are a lot of issues which I'm not going to talk about, but everyone's motivated, or every government is motivated by money to some respect. They want to look after themselves or their people, but I just feel like inherently in their blood, it's you know, money is not up there, status is not up there as, you know, their driving force. And you know, LA, what an example. I mean, everything's status. You know, what car do you have? How big your house is? How much money do you have? How many followers do you have on Instagram? How plastic your face is? How good do you look? How skinny you are? Everything. And I'm not exaggerating. Like,
no, yeah, absolutely not.
this
And
is
also,
that's not
yeah,
normal.
what like image it plays to the outside, you know, if you've never really spent time there, what do you think it is from all the movies you watch, from all the series you watch, from all like everything you know about it? You're like, oh my god, that's the spot to be. But it is just like, yeah, it's the biggest fake bullshit I've ever seen. I'm sorry to say it like that, but I was like, I went there with 2 of my very good friends, Kyle and Elliot, and Elliot left a few days earlier, and then Kyle and I flew out on the same day back to Bali. We were like, Jenny is sitting on the airport and saying like, dude, I couldn't be happier than leaving this place. Coming back, especially to a place like Bali, we were just like, oh my god, I just want to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, we're both photographers, and we loved shooting there. You know, everything around, surrounded by LA. You know, like the deserts and stuff. We rented like a vintage Porsche, and we had some amazing experiences shooting. You know, like it's great in terms of landscapes as well and whatever. And we also met some really cool people. That's like, I don't want to, you know, doubt that at all. But like just a general picture of the city, and stories we heard, and I genuinely felt like I was scared. in the city. I'm not
Yeah.
even kidding. There were parts of it I
In
was
LA?
like,
Yeah, it's
I was
dodgy.
scared. I did not want to leave my car here, you know, like I
Uh-huh.
did not want to like, and I've never felt that in like, you know, places that people say they're like dangerous, like Medellin in Colombia or, you know, Bolivia and stuff. Like I always felt like super sweet, you know. So
My
yeah,
closest calls have been in either New York or LA,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so if you're walking around by yourself, like, you know, yeah. Anyway, how, you know, on that kind of status note and success topic, how do you define any type of success? You know, what is there a kind of higher goal that you're working towards, and you know, how would you define success essentially?
yeah. I think it's a good question, and I've been thinking about it quite a lot too. Like, you know, um, and I couldn't find a definition of what's success for me in like, you know, that suits for everyone. I can just say, I can just talk about myself, and I think, you know, um, I feel like right now I'm very successful, and it has absolutely nothing to do with money. I'm literally like, I definitely made way more money in my life before than I'm doing right now, but I'm living in the place I actually want to live. I know who I am, and I know what I want, and I know why I do it, and I'm surrounded by the people I want to be surrounded with, and that's success for me right now. So that's literally like, I genuinely can say right now, I've never been happier in my life than I am right now. Just like general happiness, general, like, you know, have the people I really love around me. You know, my sister's gonna visit me very soon on this island as well, so that's even better. I just got back to Germany for the first time in 7 years, which was quite a big like challenge for me as well. But like, I feel like I didn't fix many relationships, but like I'm definitely made them better, and we definitely like, you know, on our way to make it good. And yeah, just like the people here as well, and like the entire lifestyle, and like yeah, has nothing to do with money. It's just like, you know, yeah.
Cool, good for you. I mean, for someone to say that before they reach 30 is,
Almost
I mean,
30.
I would, yeah, before they reach 30, it's for someone to kind of realize that, I would consider that success, definitely.
Yeah.
So good for you.
And thanks. And I think that's also like a great thing about getting older. You know, people are like getting like, oh, I don't want to leave my 20s. I want to stay, you know, like young and whatever, and all that stuff. And I love it. Seriously, it's actually exactly today. I'm 29 and a half. So in 6 months, I'm turning 30, and I'm super excited just because life is like, you know, as I said, you know who you are, you know what you want, you know where you're going. All these things are worth so much. In my 20s, as I said earlier, I felt so like lost and like had many issues, tried so many things. Nothing really worked out until like, you know, mid 20s when I figured out photography and stuff. So yeah, I love getting older. Like I don't know why it's a bad thing. Like I'm super excited for my 30s.
Definitely. We don't perceive it to be a bad thing. And actually, we said exactly so. Both Fee and I, Fee, you maybe found it a tiny little bit more difficult than me, but when we hit 30, it was like, oh, I'm so happy to be in my 30s.
Yeah.
Exactly how you said it. You
Yeah.
know who you are. You're more sure of everything in life.
Exactly.
You know who you don't want to be around.
Yeah.
And you don't give a fuck about it.
Exactly.
You know who you do want to be around and do give a fuck about
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
You realize how important that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And generally speaking, yeah, it's, you know, you're more sure in what you're doing. Generally speaking, you're, you know, a bit better at what you do. Like if you started your career in your mid-20s,
yeah.
roughly speaking, you've got that experience, a bit more practice. So yeah,
And
totally feel you, totally agree.
And even like if you speak like, you know, financially, which is obviously like a big thing for most people, and don't get me wrong, you need money to live. You know, most like you would be a little bit better set than like in your early 20s, you know, where you're like, you know,
more comfortable.
Fuck, dude, I got $50 left in my bank account. What am I gonna eat tomorrow? So and I've been there many times, trust me. So
I remember that feeling too.
Yeah, which is a great feeling, by the way. I think it's
necessary.
Man, without that, you won't understand anything.
Absolutely.
You never appreciate a hot shower if you never had like no shower or only a cold shower for a few weeks, you know. So I lived in a car for quite a long time, like not a van, actually a car, and man, nothing ever taught me so much. You know, it literally made me a minimalist. It literally like made me appreciate like these little things, like a hot shower, or you know, like man, just tap water. I mean, no,
Yeah.
we're in Indonesia, so you can't even drink tap water.
Yeah.
But like, just having like a place where you can wash your dishes with a tap is fucking awesome, man. You know, so yeah, like all these things you learn in your 20s, it's just amazing. You know, like you appreciate it all. And
I do think that there's a difference between people who've been at rock bottom, not rock bottom, but
rock bottom.
bottom-ish,
Yeah.
struggling at least. Like to know what it's like to have less than $0 in your bank account. You know, like to be
Exactly.
overdrawn loans, you know, like whatever your situation is, to basically not have a leg to stand on financially.
Yeah.
And I think you learn so, you know, I think I talked about this with the owners when we came on, but you learn so much about it. Those are the times where you learn a lot about yourself. It's interesting, like moving here, people only know me as 40-year-old Matt Jacob. So they have no idea of previous
Everything
history. They
before.
know Matt as a pilot who's doing okay and is not poor, not loaded, but he's comfortable. And so they don't know that's another thing that really, I don't want to bring up social media, but it really fucks me off about social media, is that people think they know you straight away. It's very, very easy to put yourself out there, and then immediately people think they know you, and that's the fault of the person who's putting himself out there, really, as much as the idiot that thinks he knows,
Oh,
thinks he or she.
100%, 100%.
I mean, it's. I'm not saying that's happened with me at all, but you know, a little bit. I've put work out there. I've put projects out there, and people have commented like the weirdest, most nasty things. Like they just made stuff up, thinking that they know me.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's easy to just kind of take a snapshot of someone and go, oh, that's who they are. Everyone wants something labeled, right? Labeled. Oh, you're that type of person. Oh, you're that type of person. Great example of what's going on in the US right now. There couldn't be a more labeling culture. That's why it's so
100%,
polarized.
100%.
Oh, you're on the right and you're on the left.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, no. Well,
yeah.
you know, I can see that viewpoint, and I can also see that viewpoint, and maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah,
Art of conversation
yeah,
lost.
For sure.
It turns into a fucking heated argument.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean, man. And especially in our business, I feel like it's so like, you see so many photographers on social media, like you're like, oh my God, they must be so successful. You know, you see all their travels and all that stuff and all their jobs they're doing, and then either you meet them or you find out, oh, hold on, they're actually like broke as fuck. Like that's literally all like built on like either like money from someone else, or it's just not real. And it's just very interesting how fake that all can be. And like as you said, right, like I'm the idiot as well, seeing it the other way around and believing everything you see, you know. But yeah, I feel like that's why I'm really trying to not share too much of all of that, you know. I don't want to, like, you know, pretend I'm living a life that I'm actually not living.
Yeah.
You know? If I put something up, then I actually live that, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's no like, you know, I'm pretending to.
Yeah, just be genuine. Like put up this bad stuff as well as the good stuff.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I think people appreciate that more anyway.
Yeah.
What does the good stuff and bad stuff look like for you in the future? You know, what does the Finn Matson of his 30s look like in terms of your artwork, the work that you do for clients, personal stuff? Are there any projects that you work on at the moment that you want to share with us, or you know, how does your brand look like in the next few years?
I'm definitely still in like totally figuring it all out, you know. Like it's all the process, man. Like I don't think we get, there's no end goal, you know. Like it's always going to be like that. And yeah, that's how it is right now. I'm just trying to figure stuff out, you know. Like I'm definitely knowing way more in which direction I want to go, but like you still need to learn things, and that's amazing, you know. Like it would be boring if it wasn't like that. So yeah, like so the upcoming year, there's definitely going to be a few projects I'm very passionate about, which is one will be Suzuki in Australia.
Suzuki,
yeah, car brand. And then I just got back from Europe before I went to the States to do a job for Mercedes, which was like actually pretty much my second or third job, where I got hired for my style, for, you know, like, we want you, Finn, to do that with your style. You have pretty much fully creative freedom, and there might be some more work with them as well. So I'm totally looking forward to that, and that's also what I really want to focus on. Also, while I'm doing all that, I've started a few other projects which have pretty much nothing to do with photography. I don't want to share too much yet, but it's like yeah, like other stuff I'm kind of passionate about.
Cool.
So let's see where that takes me. But I'm just, it's also art related, so it's just nothing totally off what I'm doing. But yeah, I just see where that takes me, and yeah, I'm really trying not to chase the money and really just doing what I love, and I'm totally convinced by that will work out sooner or later. It's just like something inside. I feel that I know it will bring me to the right place, and it doesn't have to be related to money. Wherever it takes me, it will be the right path. So,
And it doesn't have to be now.
and it doesn't have to be now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's another thing. I think people become impatient, right? And I get it with the speed at which everything is going in the technological side of things, but also the art, photography, social media, everything that kind of goes into our space. It just moves quick, and it seems saturated. But there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of great stuff. Oh, I need to catch up there. I need to catch up there. It's easy to kind of fall into that trap. I'm definitely not saying I've succeeded in not doing that, but certainly I think it's a trait. If you have that instilled in you, like, it will come. I'll just keep doing what I do better and better, hopefully, but I keep doing my process, doing what I love, working with the people I want to work with, and it will come. It will come. I'll have my time.
What do you think about money, which is obviously always a huge topic?
I
and
love it.
no one can tell me that it's. Do you think you have to make kind of some money or a lot of money first to understand that that's actually not the way to do it, or do you think there's a way to understand all of that without actually making the money?
I know people that have not made a lot of money and understand the value of it, and don't put it at the top of their list.
Yeah.
But I was a guy that did it the other way. Like, I made enough money where I could just have freedom.
Which is something great, don't get me wrong. Like, it's great.
That is the be and end all of money for me, is to be able to have enough, not be rich by any kind of normal definition of the word.
Yeah.
Be comfortable enough where I can choose whether to do work today, take that job, not take that job,
Exactly. Yeah.
go and have time off for a month, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Money, financial freedom, and that doesn't mean millions.
Yeah.
Right. So I was that guy. I got very lucky with a job, paid well, and we were in a very, very happy place for many years, and not because of money, just everything came together at once. Loved ones, our friends, the way we lived, the job, time off, quality of life.
Yeah.
It was everything just kind of fit. And we were very, very fortunate with that. Not many people get that. And a byproduct of that is I got paid very well. And I quickly realized, not quickly actually, I didn't quickly realize, I slowly realized that, the more I got, I was getting pay rises every year and bonuses and stuff. Nothing filled.
Nothing changed. Hey?
Nothing changed. I just wanted more.
Yeah.
Just wanted more. And, it wasn't till a kind of semi-midlife crisis where I just, changed my whole perspective on things. Photography helped a lot with that. Like, just wanting to be an artist, not being an artist, but wanting to be, pursuing the art form of being an artist. And that really helped. And, the more I learned, the more grounded I became, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think I can't answer that question other than from my own experience. And I was one of those people that learned that lesson by having money and realizing, oh yeah, this actually has made me a worse person. Definitely made me a worse person, 100%, or at least contributed to it.
Yeah.
Because my whole mind shifted, my whole priorities changed, the way I treated people changed, the way I used people, the way I thought about life when I woke up in the morning. Like, it changes everything.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
so does having another passion.
Yeah.
Right? So does having another distraction.
Yeah.
And if you can kind of divert that attention into something that will maybe make you a more rounded person, then do it. And that's why I absolutely love photography. But I love all art.
All art, yeah, man.
Like
That's,
I don't know as much about other art forms, but I love the fact that photography can be an art form.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love how it kind of saved you. So I love the sentence like art can save you, which I'd love to like build something on at some point if it's like a foundation or whatever, you know. But I love that it's kind of, you know, like let's say saved you. But people think when they hear that sentence, they think, oh yeah, it saved some, you know, drug addicted person or some like, you know, person that's really down or whatever. But actually we're all the way fucking way up, you know, and like it kind of saved you in like another perspective, which is awesome. And it's all done by
Not
art.
just
so-
me, my
no,
relationship,
not just-
my relationships, like the people who were in my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you know, take my parents, or you know, I don't know whether you get this, but they're like, what do you mean you want to give up flying? Stable job, good money, long career, etc., etc. Like, well, I have no purpose with it, right? You know, and that, we haven't even talked about that. Like
Yeah.
having a purpose,
Yeah.
that's 10 times more important than having money.
100%.
And I just I got to that stage. I had the money, no purpose. I felt as empty as you could possibly feel as a human. Yet on the face of it, I was successful, right? Anyone would look at me and go, oh yeah, you're this, and you know, living in a nice house, and you know, you don't even have to worry when you go out for dinner about what the bills, you know, all this kind of like very middle class type life. And you know, we ended up taking that kind of thing for granted. But yeah, I mean, never a harsher lesson learned than, you know, fall from grace essentially.
And you know, like with all that, you wouldn't be where you are now. You know, you had to go through that process to learn that lesson, and you probably had to go through that process as well to even pick up photography, right? Like, do you think you would have picked up photography?
Crossed over, I think no, I think I picked up photography because it was neither money or art. It was just, I've always loved toys and gadgets, and I love technology. It's kind of one reason I started flying. It's probably like pressing buttons. Like, it's a weird fascination of flying.
There's still a lot of buttons
Yeah.
in an airplane, I guess.
Yeah, a lot.
Definitely more than on a camera.
Yeah, and that's really why I picked camera up. The art side of it came a lot later. I was like, oh fucking hell, there's way more layers to this than
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
pointing a lens and pressing a button.
Oh,
Right?
100%. Yeah.
So then I was like, wow, this has opened up a whole new world. So yeah, way more than flying ever did. So yeah, that was I don't know how we got into that, but that's kind of
Yeah, yeah.
the story.
But flying is still something like, you know, pretty cool. like I mean, it's a very special job already, you know, like it's a very special thing to do.
Yeah, flying is will always be in my blood. Like
Yeah.
I still absolutely love flying an aircraft or a helicopter. Like
Or you can fly both.
well, I did a private license helicopter. Like helicopter, I actually enjoy more than like
Yeah.
airplanes. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is super fun when you do it for 20 years as a job. There are no new ways to invent it. There are no new ways to evolve. Like you're still you still are running checklists. You're still you're running in accordance with standard operating procedures. You're still working for a company.
Yeah.
You're still being employed. You're still
Yeah.
being told what to do. It's you know, there are no, you do it for 20 years, you do it for 20 years. You
Yeah.
do it for 30 years, 40 years. Like, it's a job, right? It takes the whole romance of flying out of it. Like,
Yeah,
you still get to fly. It's
Yeah.
great, but-
And that maybe even like, you know, it's the same like I said about the photography earlier, you know, like if you continue doing these, like, you know, like let's say shooting food and nothing is wrong with that, you know, if people are passionate about it, fair enough. I'm not, same shit, you know,
Yeah.
like same
You're
shit.
making a living, you're not making art, right?
Exactly.
And that was a big part of wanting to change things up a bit. The freedom, the creative freedom you get with photography, any art form, is just so satisfying, right?
Yeah.
And you know more than anyone, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really
100%,
powerful.
100%, yeah.
And when someone else gets it,
Best feeling in
what
the
a
world.
feeling!
Best feeling in the world. Yeah.
Like you can create it for yourself. Like it's still great. I love doing it. I'll always do it, even if no one else gives a shit.
Yeah.
But if then one other person, and this
They
is
feel it.
special.
Cheers on that.
Just Interesting that you say you've become spiritual, and my kind of timeline kind of matches yours. I'm just 10 years older, but I think it's so important to be able to recognize your place in the world and society amongst the people you hang around, and just understanding, well, what is this all for? Should I take myself that seriously? No. Should I chase after money? Well, it's a factor, but don't make it priority. Should I be nice to people? Yes. Should I, take this job, take that job, but at least be polite about it? Yes, etc., etc. Should I try and be the best version of myself? Absolutely. And it sounds a little bit happy-go-lucky, but it's true, and I've definitely learned a lot about giving back, and being able to,
100%.
not necessarily, I don't want to be preachy about giving to charities and stuff, but if you're able to, and you talked about doing something for the benefit of, then maybe doing something that you feel is more you or more important, because let's say you've done a freelance job that you don't really want to do, but it's paid really well, and that means now you can either give some of that to people in need, or you can put that into your artwork where you feel like it's going to influence really nice people, or inspire people, inspire the next generation of photographers, etc., etc. Being on this podcast, maybe one person sees this podcast and you've kind of saved their life, or something along, whether what you've done up till now leads to this, or whether you've chosen to do it based on a specific reason. I think that having that at the back of your mind is only a good thing, and is
100%.
only something that leads to bigger and better things, whether you're a photographer or not a photographer. And that is a kind of spirituality, I guess.
For sure.
Knowing that there's a not higher power, and maybe if that's what you believe in, but kind of an energy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of that comes from this island, because like it's wild how much people believe in karma in here, and like and how true it is, and how they live with it. They're like so amazing to you. They're so genuine and all of that, because they believe so much in karma. Man, I swear to you, leave my camera outside right now on my bike for the last 4 or 5 hours, and most likely it would still be there. And if someone would have stolen it, it probably was a tourist. Like
fucking tourists.
fuck tourists. Yeah, just all of that is just like and as I mentioned earlier, like actually my dream is to build like some kind of foundation to actually save people through art. And if it is like giving cameras to like whoever and or like teaching them how to paint, or making paint classes for free, or whatever, like I don't have any specific ideas on that yet. It's just like an idea that's growing more and more in my head in the last year. And that's why I said earlier, like, art can save you is such a special thing, because like it's actually what happened to me. Like I was genuinely like a drug addict young kid somewhere in Germany, not knowing where to go. And I know I'm still very privileged, because I grew up in a fairly good country, and like everything was sweet, and whatever. And I wasn't like drug addicted as like I was smoking weed and stuff like that. Like I wasn't like shooting any stuff or whatever, but like I feel like I would have never gotten away from all of that without the photography, and without the art, and without like that output of expressing myself through art. And I think that would be like the most beautiful thing, to like build something to help other people to do the same. And if that's based on money, fair enough, man. Then I try to make that money and build something like that. I think that's really like that would be like something very beautiful. And even like teaching people, not in form of courses, but like teaching people how to make art, or like what it can do for you internally, and how to express yourself. That yeah, man. I don't know. Like I think that would be my dream. At least that's like what's growing in me in the last 1 or 2 years, as I said.
How would you describe your art form to people listening and watching this? Like your style, and what you try and communicate through your images. I don't want you to label yourself. You just don't believe in that. But how would you, if you could do a kind of mini elevator pitch, how would you describe your style and your art?
Yeah. It's definitely, I'm still like it's such a like process of finding a style. I feel like if you actually found your style, you've failed, because there's no, like, it never stops, you know. What I shot last year and I thought that's right down my alley and I love it and like it's my style and whatever. Now I look at it and I'm like, no, I don't feel it anymore. I want to do different stuff, you know. And that's probably going to be the same next year. It's going to be the same in 10 years. So I feel like there's no way to like I don't know, like it's boring if you have a style, you know, like fuck that. Like try to, like, you know, because it's all based on expressing what you are and what you feel, and then you express that through your art, and obviously you're growing as a person, so it will always be different.
Yeah.
It won't be like one style for the rest of your life. So I definitely don't think I found a style, but if I would write a pitch for a client, I would probably say like yeah, very minimal, very like, you know, cinematic, dreamy. Yeah, that's the words I would
Yeah.
probably use.
Yeah, they're good words.
And it's a great topic because it's very interesting, because people, like, you know, sometimes you meet someone, they're like, oh, your work is so cool and whatever, but I'm like, I don't know if I like my work actually, you know, like, because it's the same thing again. You're growing as a person, and until you had time to create something, there's some time in between, you know, like you're feeling something right now and you creating a concept out of it, you're creating that image or whatever it is, and then until you're there, you already grew as a person again, so you're actually like different. So will there ever be a point that you're actually happy with your work? I don't know. And I don't know if that's totally wrong,
No,
what I'm
I'm
saying,
nodding my head because I'm like, oh fuck, I know exactly how you feel.
you know. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not. It's great because you're not chasing that goal anymore. You're not chasing that one point where you think you're going to be that photographer with that style and all that stuff, like, because that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anyway. And through that, you're always just like growing with your art, with you as a person, everything. And then, but yeah, that's
Yeah, I
just how
think
it is, you
that's
know.
such an important lesson for people to hear. Is people get, and I've talked about it. Is, you know, don't try and find your. I think finding a style, certainly when you're beginning, is quite important, because you want to be able to go, okay, this is what I do. Like I don't, I'm not a photographer who does landscape, wildlife, underwater, portraits, drone stuff, street stuff, minimalist stuff, cinema. Like, well, no one's. If you're doing it to try and make a living out of it, like, there is a point where you have to kind of streamline
Yeah.
what you can pitch.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to not put too much pressure on yourself and to do what you feel is natural.
Yeah.
And exactly as you said, like evolve every day. Like, you're gonna change every day. Like you said, as a human, your brain is changing every day. You're
What you
going to
feel.
evolve as emotionally. You're going through a lot of personal stuff as you, as in a human, as much as professional stuff, right?
Exactly.
Don't just limit what you say to your professional work. Like, just understand that that's the beauty of art, right? That's the
100%.
absolute beauty of art.
Yeah.
It's ever changing. It's from a human and not AI. Like, it would never be able to replicate that.
Exactly.
And so, well, I don't
Hopefully
think
not.
I've said that now.
But that's exactly what art is, and what it means to be an artist as well, you know. And yeah, I think that's beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
It's cool. And coming back to that, like looking at my own stuff, you know, like it changed a lot, but it still might be, you know, like you will still see some style in it that's like, you know, it's, for example, always like a centered object. Like, that's my thing, you know. I love it. But then I also think, like, you know, maybe that puts me in such a box that I don't think outside of the box, you know. I feel like I almost don't want to have a style, because that style puts me into that box that I'm always doing it like that. And then, like, maybe it would be so much cooler if I would do things like
But is that
totally
because it's influenced by an outside voice? You know, take an audience out of the whole equation. What would you do?
I mean, definitely, yeah. I mean, of course, we're all like, you know, like, it's not that I've never did that Instagram stuff, you know. It's not that I've never like shot stuff because I knew it might go very well on the gram, you know. It's like, it's actually interesting that quite a lot of my audience was built on one photo, which was like a photo of the moon. So like, now if I post any stuff with the moon, it does extremely well all the time. If I post like some portraits of a girl, it does extremely bad because most people followed me because of the moon stuff, and they think that's like, so it's quite interesting to see. Um, yeah, but that's like, again, what you want, I fairly don't care about that anymore. I just want to, grow as an artist and see where it takes me, and really like, try to express my feelings instead of like trying to build a style that locks me in. Like it literally locks you into like a little box, and you got to stay in there because everyone's going to like it. So what's the fucking point? Why are you doing it?
Yeah, just pandering to the market. What is that voice that you're trying to portray in your images? And I presume it changes all the time, but what is your voice? What are you trying to kind of impart of your emotions into your images? Is it joy, sadness, kind of these generic emotional terms, or is there something in between, a mixture of it?
I think it's very based on like, my early 20s and my, not childhood, but like youth. And it's definitely based a lot on loneliness, which I'm totally aware of. And again, it's like, I don't feel lonely right now. I'm surrounded by the most amazing people that I love so much. But again, it's like the art I'm creating is like the ideas I might have for many shots or whatever are based on a while ago. But I grew as a human now, and everything else is like different. So I still think it's a lot based on loneliness, which I'm very grateful for, because like it put me through a lot of like I don't know how to say, like things in life that like grew me a lot, like out of loneliness became aloneness. And now I feel like I'm actually a person who can be alone and don't feel bad about it, which is a very good base for any kind of relationships or in general life, like you can't start basing a relationship on like, you think you're going to be happy because you're going to be with that girl, or you're going to have this friend and stuff. Like it's all based on you. So I think going from the loneliness to the aloneness, and maybe like kind of, like growing through it through art, and then like becoming to who I am now, which is, yeah, it's quite interesting how it is all worked out in the end.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But I still think most of my art is based on that. And yeah, let's see where that goes,
I'd
Let's
be
see how it
interested to
looks.
see. Yeah, yeah. I mean, who am I to say that? If the loneliness in your artwork starts to fade into more of a distant memory, what kind of replaces it will be an interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm super excited for that. And that's a process. And that's where, like that's it, just all like that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where it's gonna take me. I don't know how my photos gonna look in a year or in 10 years. Definitely not how they look now.
Yeah.
Probably because exactly of that, because I grow as a human and I'm trying to express myself through art. So I don't know where it's gonna go.
So how do you translate those emotions, that style? I don't really want to say style anymore, but the output from your photography into, I don't know, pitching for clients. How do you bridge that gap between your art form and your voice as an artist into getting a paycheck? What's your process, and how do you kind of put that together for clients to recognize it and go, oh yeah, I love what he's trying to do?
Yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, I'm still at the very, very beginning of that. I literally just like said, like literally almost 1 year ago, I said, all right, I'm done with all these other jobs, and I'm really gonna focus on like, art, and like getting the jobs that I'm actually passionate about. So I'm still very new to it. And most of the jobs I had were actually reached out by the client, because obviously I changed all of my website. I removed all of the commercial work I didn't want to shoot anymore, and I only put up there what I really wanted to do. Plus, I actually wrote a bio that's I feel like fairly different to other photographers. Plus, like it actually explains what I want to do, and involving the colorblindness and all of that stuff. Um, and when it comes to pitching, I think it's just so important to not just like send out like emails to random brands. Like I used to do that a lot as well, like literally like sending 100 emails a day, and like sending it out. And I know many people recommend that. And if you want to make money, fair enough, you might get some jobs with that. But I don't know if you're gonna enjoy these jobs, like so yeah, I think it's so important to actually have like an extremely unique and good idea to pitch to like a brand, and like build it out on like a big pitch deck and actually like, put it all down, put like, if you're pitching a video, like put each scene down, like really like it's a lot of effort you have to put in beforehand, which most people don't want to do because, like you don't know if it works. And to be honest, most likely they will say no, but um that's just part of it, and
So you would pitch a specific concept to
yeah,
a brand or
I mean, if you want
organization.
a job where you want to do what you want to do, then you have to pitch that. You cannot just say like, "Hey, by the way, I'm flying to whatever, like Thailand next week. You want to send me some of this and this, and I will create some photos for you." Then, you will be in Thailand. You will shoot that whatever it is, phone cases in Thailand. Well, good luck, have fun. But if you actually want to do like, tell a story about skateboarding girls in Bolivia, then you literally need to like put that idea together into like a pitch where you really like explain what you see and how you would do it, and actually pitch that to a brand. Like I think like the more specific you're gonna be, the better the chance is the chances to actually get the job as well. And yeah, like be really detailed as well. I put my budget in there. I tell them exactly how much money it's going to cost them, which obviously like we can talk about it later, but like that's like the base. I tell them what we're going to shoot on, who are the people, who are the talents, who are the other videographers or photographers, what are they going to wear, like how is each scene going to look, what's going to benefit the brand, why should they say yes to this. It's so important to tell them what they're going to get out of it, because why should they say yes to like a 30, 40, $50,000 job if they don't know what they're going to get out of it. Look, there might be a better answer to that, and it's just like what I personally think right now. And I think it's probably connection, like actually like connecting with your client on it's funny, but like my favorite clients I ever had, and the ones I'm still getting ongoing work, and I'm still the ones I'm talking to, is always like because we connected on such a great level on the shoot or like on the production or whatever, that yeah, that just made it all like to a whole nother level in terms of ongoing work, but also in terms of outcome of that shoot you are on.
Right. Great answer, and hopefully people can listen, learn, and it's been a fantastic conversation. I hope everyone's enjoyed it as much as I have. I've learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else has learned a lot, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank
We'll
you so
obviously
much.
stay in touch and
Man,
hopefully go and shoot.
We're basically neighbors.
Yeah, let's do it.
Definitely gonna do that. Yeah.
But I've run out of Negroni, so we have to end the conversation here. But thank you so much.
Right back at you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, bro.